Today is a really big day. So if you're just joining the National Wake Up Call today, congratulations, you made the right choice because once a month, roughly once a month, we put a newer coach on the call, someone who's been around in the business about a year, maybe a year and a half. And the reason why we do this is to show what's possible. So if you're new and you can listen or watch to what this coach has been doing for the last year and a half and maybe pick up some best practices. So let me give her the proper introduction that she deserves because she did start January of last year, so a little more than a year and a half. And she's currently a 5-star diamond coach. Congratulations. She just was announced on the call. She was a premier coach in 2018, and she is a Success Club 10 All-Star. She's currently living in Huntington Beach, California. Please welcome Danae Hays. Danae! I got you. I got you. Looking great. How are you?
Great. I'm so excited to be here, Sandy.
I know we talked this morning, and most people, before they get on the wake-up call, they want to throw up. You are so pumped and ready and excited. I want everybody to hear your story because I was incredibly impressed with your very lively history of what you've done in your life so far. So please share with the audience how you became a coach and why.
Absolutely. So prior to becoming a coach, my life looked and felt a lot different than it does right now. In fact, I know it says that I'm from Huntington Beach, California, but I just recently moved here about a year ago. I'm actually born and raised in a very small town called Morris, Alabama. It's made up of about 1,100 people. In fact, if you drive past the exit and you blink, you're 100% gonna miss it. But I grew up in that little small town, and I was always known for one thing, and that was being the athlete. I played softball from the time that I was 6 years old all the way up until college, where I was so lucky enough and blessed to have a softball scholarship at the University of Alabama. And at my time at Alabama, I got my degree in sports broadcasting because since I was a little girl, I know a lot of people, TV and probably live air freaks them out. But for me, that was something that I wanted to do ever since I was this big. I can remember telling my parents, I'm going to be on ESPN one day. And I had the privilege of immediately getting an on-air position directly after college, which was amazing in itself. However, about 2 years into that career, I realized really, really quickly that on-air broadcasting was not what I wanted to do. In fact, it was extremely stressful. And so I had to have that conversation with my parents and tell them, hey, I don't think I'm in the right direction. And so I saw my mom do real estate for 25 years. And I was like, you know what? That seems convenient. That seems comfortable. And now I know that those are not two words or two adjectives to describe your career, especially if it's going to be fulfilling, because I found myself being very convenient and very comfortable, and I wasn't being stretched. But about 2 years into that career, I realized then that I was going through one of the darkest times of my entire life, Sandy. I was extremely stressed. I was full of anxiety. And I was beginning to develop a lot of self-hatred toward myself. And this all stemmed from when I was 8 years old. I had told my parents that I was gay. And I quickly realized that the culture that I was living in was not going to allow that lifestyle. It was not going to allow me to truly live my truth and be myself. And so I had covered that part up for literally decades. And it started to catch up to me when I was 24. And I began to become extremely lonely. And all I wanted to do is be by myself. And I was starting to, develop resentment towards myself and towards my career, because in fear of if I were to come out and live my truth, I knew I was going to lose a lot of clients. I knew that I was going to probably lose a lot of friends and a lot of family. And so I chose to internalize that and keep that inside of me. And the only sanctuary that I had was the gym. I started going to the gym and I started working out, and it was literally like my release. It was where I was able to get all of this emotional just turbulence out. And for an hour a day, I got to just solely focus on myself. And I got to put all of that anxiety and all of that stress on the back burner. And I can remember I was standing in my gym, and I would occasionally post a couple of pictures on Instagram of me flexing in the mirror, me working out. And I was dabbling in fitness, definitely not a coach at this point. And I remember it was December of 2016, and I was standing in the gym and I was in between sets, and my phone went off, and it was a message from a complete stranger at the time. And a lot of you probably know who she is, 15-star diamond coach, Mandy Kai. But Mandy wasn't a 15-star diamond at that point. She was less than a diamond. And I remember she reached out to me and she invited me to the coaching opportunity. And I can remember looking at my phone and I was thinking, I literally laughed. I was like, me, a coach, I can't even help myself. How am I going to help other people? Because I had so much insecurities and again, so much anxiety. And the idea of being able to truly be myself, especially on a platform as vulnerable and as open as social media, scared me to death. Ironically, Mandy and I ended up dating, which to me is the funniest part of the whole story. She sends me a coaching invite. And I had to watch Mandy grow this community, grow this team, grow something so special that loved her, supported what she was and what she wasn't. And I was the outsider looking in, wanting that. And so I realized quickly, after a year of watching Mandy grow her team, I realized quickly that the one missing link in my life was community. And so in January of 2018, a little over a year after initially getting that invite, I decided I was going to become a Team Beachbody coach because of hope. I thought that that's all I needed was just hope that there was a better future out there for me, hope that there was a better community out there for me, hope that I could eventually learn to love myself and be accepted by myself and by others. And so 19 months later, here I am talking to you guys.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it is not easy and you sound so confident and you have your broadcaster mode on, you look so confident, but it was a tough road for you. And I tell a lot of people when they listen to the wake up call, listen to how a story is told, because she's breadcrumbing it the whole way. Like, we want to know how you were able to find that self-confidence again. So like I said earlier, this new coach startup call is, I want to know, what did you do to get started? How did you immediately jump in and gain some traction in this business? So why don't you take us from the top? What did you do right when you started?
Well, the first thing that I did is I asked Mandy, I was like, what do I need to do? She goes, you need to be resourceful. And so I literally took that and I ran with it. And I can remember I'd come home late from night after showing houses to clients and after giving softball lessons some nights, because I was still doing that as well. And I would dive into YouTube and I would watch training after training after training. And one thing that I realized, Sandy, that every single video, every single top coach had one thing in common. In fact, I couldn't get through an entire video without hearing one word, and that was invite. And even though that word scared me to death, because again, I was in this moment in time, I was in the darkest, most uncomfortable, I was not confident. I know you probably see that now, but I was not in that place. And so the word inviting scared me to death. And I realized quickly that I was not going to invite to my warm market. And so that's one of the biggest turning points in my business, why I think my business grew so rapidly my first year, is because I didn't invite to my warm market out of fear of judgment, out of fear of rejection, out of fear of not being good enough. Even though I do have a degree in broadcasting and I was in real estate, and so I've always been comfortable talking to people, there was a huge stone wall between myself and my family and my friends when it came to asking them if they would join this opportunity. So instead of doing that, I decided that I was going to go immediately out to my cold market. And I was going to start warming up my cold market, because to me, that was more comfortable than talking to my warm market. And so I literally, Sandy, I dove right into cold market invites.
I'm going to stop you for a second. The video was catching up a tiny bit. I think it's so funny that you were attracted by a cold invite.
I know.
Right?
Absolutely.
But just for the sake of everybody watching or listening, is that your warm market was your parents, your friends, your neighbors, the people that you really knew, but you didn't want to go there. You were nervous about letting that guard down and showing people what you were doing. So why don't you go ahead and talk about how you were able to take that cold market and turn it into a warm market?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first year in the business, I feel like, and this is true to a lot of coaches in 2018 and probably prior years, I built my business off of the traditional "Hey girl" message. And I think if you don't know what that means, it's literally like sending someone you have no idea who they are a message and saying, "Hey girl, I think you'd be great at this coaching opportunity. Have you ever given it any thought?" And at the time, Instagram or whatever platform, Facebook, at the time, those cold invites, those "Hey girl" messages, they were very effective. And like I said, I mean, I built my business all the way up to 2-star, doing those types of messages. But then I realized in 2019, Instagram has evolved so much, and it's become more of a tight-knit community and less of a "Hey girl" style type of platform. So you really have to connect with people before you send them an invite. And I finally realized that, because the "Hey girl" messages were like white noise to a lot of people. And so in 2019, I decided to swap over to more of the connection style invite. And whenever I'm talking to my team, Sandy, I try my hardest not to say the word invite. Instead, I try to replace that word with connections, because I truly believe that we are in a business of building relationships. And so I've started warming up my cold market by doing things like going to the search bar on Instagram and clicking on the tags button, where it allows you to search for hashtags. And I realized that if I'm going to build relationships with people, I need to be building relationships with people who I relate with. And so I found the easiest way to do so is to search hashtags. So for instance, like California girl, hashtag cat mom. So anything that I relate to. And then I go through those different hashtags on the explore page, and I pick out people that maybe like aesthetically they're appealing, or I relate to, or something that their words say that resonate with me. And then I follow them with the 311 method. And so the 311 method is super simple. It's where I like 3 of my favorite photos, not just the first 3 photos, but I go through their profile and I really try to pick out 3 photos that I resonate with and that I like. And then I comment on one photo. And instead of just looking at the photo and commenting something super surface level, I try and really read the caption and type something back that lets them know I'm in tune with what they're saying and I'm really trying to connect with them. And then I follow them. And if they follow me back, then obviously they feel, like I'm relatable to them as well. And, your vibe attracts your tribe. And so once they follow me back, then I shoot them over a direct message, whether it be that day or the following day, but I shoot them over a direct message and I just thank them. And I tell them how excited I am to follow them. And I tell them how genuine I think they are. And then they, majority of the time, message me back. And I always flag our conversations, because for me, that lets me know that if I have a flagged conversation in my inbox, they are a prospect. They are no longer in my cold market. They are now in my warm market. And if they're in my warm market, I can send them an invite. And the craziest thing about it, Sandy, is my actual invites look so much like the same, so similar to my traditional "Hey girl" messages that I was sending last year. Really, the only difference at this point is I've laid so much groundwork that invite is going to be better received. And they feel obligated to respond because I've now built that relationship with them.
You know what? Before we get into the invite portion of this, I want to go back a little bit, because you're doing this 311 method, and it's working for you, right? And when you're reaching out to people and you're commenting or you're starting to build a relationship, even though it's virtual, I know that this was hard for you in the beginning. What has been the response? Is it because you both are relatable on certain hashtags that people just go, yes, I'm a cat lady too? Tell me what has been the response with this 311 method.
I think it's just that I'm taking the time to get to know them. It's kind of like if you were to go into the grocery store, and like this was my 2018 method. So I walk into the grocery store, and I had to really imagine myself doing this, because I think sometimes we get so confused that social media is this foreign land, when really it's very similar to everyday real life and everyday real connections and interactions. And I think that my 2018 method, the "Hey girl" message, was kind of like walking into a grocery store, seeing somebody wearing like an athletic outfit, and me randomly walking up to this person, not knowing who they are, tapping them on the shoulder and being like, "Hey girl, I think you'd be great at this coaching opportunity." And then being like, "What are you talking about?" Whereas when I start to do the 311 method and I'm liking their photos and I'm really engaging with their content, I'm getting to know them, it's more like walking up to that girl in the grocery store and being like, hey, I love that outfit that you're wearing. Where'd you get it? And so she starts to tell me where she got her outfit, and the conversation becomes so much more seamless. And then when she says, well, what do you do? Or something fitness related gets brought up, and I ask her if she's ever thought about coaching, it just seems more true and more authentic. And so I think that's really the bridge between the gap. And I think that's been the biggest key.
So you private message them, you start talking to them, and they start becoming a friend, so to speak, right? And then what you're basically doing is you're sorting these connections that you're making, you're flagging them so that you know that you've had a contact with them. So it's brilliant. It's really what you're doing is you're keeping track of conversations. So then once you flag that conversation, you go back, and is that when you do an invite?
Yes. So
Okay,
after we've
take
had,
us.
yeah. So after we've had some conversation, then I'll invite them. I used to be so hesitant as a brand new coach to want to just send that invite, but I think that hesitation was because it felt awkward. But after I bridge that gap and I start to have that conversation with them and we have a connection, then I send them a very traditional invite. Honestly, the wording of my invite, there's nothing special to it. I always say their name. So if their name's Taylor, I say, hey, Taylor, I'm so happy that we've got to know one another. I feel like you're such a genuine person. I've really enjoyed connecting with you. And I feel like you already do, especially if they're in the fitness world, I feel like you already do so much of what we do as coaches. I feel like it would seamlessly fit right into your life. Have you ever given it any thought? And then at that point, that's my invite to them. And what I do, Sandy, is I typically have an ongoing coaching information session that I house videos in explaining what the coaching opportunity is about. And if they say, honestly, yeah, or I've been looking over your profile and I really like what it is that you do, can you give me more detail? Then we'll talk about it more in depth over the conversation over Instagram. But then I usually invite them to my ongoing information session. So I send them the link to my information session where they can watch the videos at their own pace. And I always tell them, once you've had a chance to watch the videos, please write down any questions that you have so that you and I can chat about it.
So in reality, you never run out of people.
Not if you're constantly adding them to your pipeline.
So what has happened to your original warm market?
It's funny because I'm kind of just now tapping into that. I'm kind of just now calling in favors, or some of those people that have been following me since literally day one that maybe I played softball with at Alabama or I went to high school with that I never invited. I'm kind of tapping into that now, which I feel like I kind of got the cart before the horse, but I'll take it.
You and I were talking on the phone this morning, and you talked about being an All-American and what that means. And are there times when you get a no from somebody, like, no, not now, like, I like what you do, but not interested? And will you share with the audience what it means to be an All-American?
Yeah. So, in softball, Sandy and I were talking today, and in softball, the joke is that it's a game of failures. If you go up to bat 10 times and out of those 10 times, you get 3 hits, that means you failed 7 times and you're exceptional. That means you failed 7 times and you're an All-American because you only got 3 hits out of 10. And I think that's why I like doing what we do so much. I think that's why I love being a team Beachbody coach, is because you're going to get so many no's, but it's a game of inches and it's a game of failures as well. But you have to be able to just absolutely relish in the fact that when you do get that yes, it's worth it. You may reach out to 100 people, and if only 30 of those people say, yeah, I'm interested, that's a victory. And if only 3 out of 30 of those people say, yes, I'm ready to sign up, that is outstanding. And so you just have to constantly be okay with the journey, failing forward. I truly believe that Team Beachbody is so much like, sports or the game of softball. It's a journey, trial and error, but you have to be able to celebrate those victories because they're huge, even if it is only 3 out of 10.
I love that analogy. I really do. And I mean, you're considered exceptional if you have had 7 failures. So you haven't been a coach for a very long time, but you've had some success. You've had great success. You hit 5-star. So I'd like you to share with everybody what this has personally meant to you. How rewarding has coaching been? What's fulfilling about it?
Wow, that is a loaded question. I look at my life. I look at my life and I try to imagine what it would be like had Mandy not sent me that invite. And that's just another layer of this call is imagine how many lives you're going to change if you just choose to hit send. And my life would look completely different had Mandy not sent that invite. My life would look completely different had I not decided that there was something more out there for me. And, Beachbody is the one thing that I could never place my finger on it from the time that I was that little 8-year-old girl who just wanted to love herself. But Beachbody has been that thing for me. It's been that accepting community that literally embraces all. And, we all come from different walks of life. And you can replace the word gay with whatever you want. Maybe it's a failing marriage. Maybe it's overweight. Maybe it's self-hatred, whatever you want to replace that word with. Beachbody embraces you. And we all have a single mission here at Beachbody, and that's to help as many people as we can. And I truly believe that if we help as many people as we can, we're going to, in return, change our own lives. And so Beachbody has changed my life in the fact that it's given me an opportunity to fully 100% be Danae for the first time in her life and help other people find their truth.
Usually at this part of the show, the coach starts to tear up, but this was unexpected. That was so beautifully put, just about acceptance. I loved it. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming onto this call and being very, very vulnerable and just sharing your heart with us. I thank you. It's been great meeting you. And I'll see you. I think you're coming to leadership.
I am. Thank you so much, Sandy. And thank you so much, guys.
All right. We're at the tail end of the call now. And I had 3 affirmations going for Danae, but this one really, really seemed to stand out. And that's live a life you love. Why do anything in your life that's not going to bring you joy? Be true to yourself. Step out of your comfort zone, try something new, and who knows, you could warm up your cold market. All right, everybody, that's enough for today. I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.